Stop.
Well, here we are. Take a deep breath. There you go. I need to take one too. So that was something else. But really, it's beautiful to see you guys here, and all of us are today. I guess I can speak for everybody. Happy we are to be at he called me that. He said we're getting married. It was just an average day. I was like painting the door. But I stopped and got off the phone. We called Tom right away, and we're happy, so happy that we're able to be here to share this event like this. We appreciate that. All of us here appreciate being here on such a special day. You know, there's a lot of unions that people make today, a lot of contracts that you see. You handed me the marriage contract earlier, and but this one's different. A marriage contract, a marriage law is different in that there's based on things that other ones aren't. That lawyers write contracts all the time, but yet a marriage is based on love, and it's based on trust. And so that's what we're going to talk about just very briefly here today. In fact, God also is a part of a marriage. He himself performed the first marriage, and we'll just read that quickly. It's brought out in just a few verses in the Bible, but it makes the point for us. In Genesis 2, verse 21 and 22, it says, "Hence Jehovah God had a deep sleep fall upon the man, and while he was sleeping, he took one of his ribs and then closed up the flesh over its place. And Jehovah God proceeded to build the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman and to bring her to the man." And then this part is really beautiful. This is after God had presented Eve to Adam, and then we have the first poetry that was ever written. Verse 23, Adam says, "This is at last bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, for this one will be called woman, because from man this one was taken." Really, those few verses show how much Adam appreciated that arrangement that God had formed. And then God proceeds to say, "That is why a man will leave his father and his mother, and he must stick to his wife, and they must become one flesh." And that verse there shows us that it would be a permanent, it would be a lasting arrangement that God had put into place there. Other scriptures in the Bible that we can read in 1 Corinthians, it brings up how God is the God of love, and then 1 Timothy, how God is a happy God. So really, those two things must be the basis of any marriage: happiness and love. And obviously, any of us here who have come to know you, we know that truly love and happiness are a basis of your marriage. So how can you make the marriage last that God had put into place? Well, in Ecclesiastes 4, 9 and 12, he brings out this point. "Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their hard work. If one of them should fall, the other one will raise his partner up. How will it be with just one who falls, when there is not another to raise him up? Moreover, if two lie down together, they will certainly get warm." I might need that. "But how can just one keep warm? And if someone could overpower one alone, two together could make a stand against him." And note this point. "And a threefold cord cannot quickly be broken." So therefore, God, that third cord, will make that marriage last. It'll be mutual. You need to mutually support each other through the marriage, and your love of God will increase that marriage. Well, God's advice in Psalms 103, verse 14, Jehovah says that he himself well knows the formation of us, remembering that we are mere dust. So God knows both of you better than any of us here today, better than you guys know each other. And you'll continue to, if you continue to trust in God, he knows how the marriage will work, how it's best for each of you for that marriage to continue steady and to continue on forever. by your studying of the Bible, praying together, so important. And you're worshiping together. That will continue to grow your appreciation for Him. And when that appreciation for Him grows, then your marriage automatically will grow also. So with anything important, it's nice to have a guidebook, and that's the perfect thing. Jehovah has given us a guidebook, the Bible. So briefly, we'll just touch on a husband, your role, Matt, and this marriage, this lasting marriage in 1 Corinthians 11:3 brings out your role. 1 Corinthians 11 verse 3. But I want you to know that the head of every man is the Christ, in turn the head of a woman is the man, in turn the head of Christ is God. Therefore you will be the head of the marriage, and you will, as we brought out earlier, you will be the one who takes the lead in your worship, family worship at home, worship at the meetings, going out in service, and in the prayer. That will be your role. But God's also given us an example of how to do that. And Jesus set that example in the first century. And in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, 28, and 29, we see the example that Jesus set for us. Husbands, continue loving your wife, just as Christ also loved the congregation and delivered himself up for it, that they might sanctify it. And then verse 28, in this way, husbands ought to be loving their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no man ever hated his own flesh, but he feeds and cherishes it, as the Christ also does the congregation. And really, Jesus gave the biggest sacrifice that anybody could give by giving his life for the congregation. And you will also, Matt, can follow that example in your marriage. And in in Matthew 11:29, we have also how Jesus acted in many circumstances. It brings out that I am mild-tempered and lowly in heart, and you will find refreshment for your souls. So therefore, you should always be a refreshment for your beautiful bride. As a Christian husband, you need to love your wife, as that other scripture that we read, as your own body. And when you're hungry, when you're thirsty, a person takes care of their own needs. They get something to eat, they get something to drink. If they're cold, you put on a jacket. Therefore, you need to take care of Jessica's needs, both in a spiritual way, in a physical way, in a recreational way, too, bringing in that happiness into that marriage. Now, this part speaks about a dearly loved wife. Now, we know, Jess, you're already dearly loved by Matt. In fact, from the very beginning, saw Matt just starting to get to know you, talking to you, texting you. We knew something was different, that Matt was acting differently. So we knew you were special right from the get-go. And you continue to be so from him, and all of us who've been around you get to appreciate your love, too, and how you guys spread that out to us. And that, we appreciate being part of your lives. A husband will continue to assign his wife honor, as is brought out in 1 Peter. But also there, it brings out that how a wife would be a compliment. And when I thought of the word compliment, I thought of food, which I enjoy, and then wine, which I really enjoy. And a glass of wine is a compliment to that meal. It doesn't mean it overpowers it, doesn't mean anything like that, but yet it brings out the better values of that food, and the better qualities. And therefore, so would a compliment bring out the better qualities of your husband. You would recognize his headship, and when you do that, it promotes happiness and also peace in the family. And in Ephesians, that scripture